Guten Morgen, Damen und Herren. Buongiorno. Buenos dias. Доброго ранку. Snark. Remember A Nightmare on Elm Street, the scene where Freddy Krueger's bones, awakened, begin to spontaneously gravitate to each other and connect with characteristic clicking sound, gradually forming a single puzzle, a skeleton. Being no longer very young, I often recall this scene when I wake up in the morning. My organs reluctantly, gradually begin to sense themselves and their connection to the rest of the organism, slowly becoming a single whole. My consciousness, my captain, reminds other parts of their purpose, urging them to come to their senses and start acting as a team. Wait, I read something similar somewhere. Of course, just the place for a snark, Bellman cried. I have said it twice, I have said it thrice. Why repeat something several times? Why drag your fellows to the shore, to solid ground, from the cradle ship on the lying waves of sleep, when they simply don't want to? Landing here is the metaphor for waking up to reality from sleeping. The others are sleepy, inert instances, other aspects of oneself. They are baker, banker, barrister, beaver, and others. The quantity depends on your personality. Now it's time to wake up. Let's hunt for the snark. I am one of those independent artists who work only on themes which they consider interesting and attractive. My approach is to read and reread the story carefully, meticulously, like an orchestra conductor reads the symphony score, still keeping in mind my first impression. First impression. It's a story about some sort of expedition with an uncertain goal, uncertain plan, and even less certain finish, which made me doubt whether I understood everything correctly, and mentally return to it in search of hidden meaning. And here I, the reader, find myself in the role of another member of the crew, since they themselves did not really understand what and why they are looking for. That is why the story is so attractive to me, also being visually picturesque, rich, and yummy, not least because of the characters. I won't go into all of them due to the time constraints. I'll just give you a couple of examples to show how I formed my perspective on them. Bellman. As an archetype, he is a captain, a school principal with a bell in his hand, a shepherd, the band's frontman, etc. A leader in the broadest sense of the word. Perhaps even the Almighty Lord. He is higher than anybody in every way, so I drew him physically taller than the others. He has a mysterious smile and a mustache like Salvador Dali, whose behavior also was mysterious and inscrutable. Beaver is a bit short-sighted because of his meticulous hobby of lace knitting, and he wears a collar and cuffs of his own making. He might have been mumbling something while lacing, and those unclear words could have been interpreted by Bellman as a navigation advice. Since the Bellman was always wrong anyway, Beaver obtained the reputation of Navy specialist. Broker, a young man in spats, an Oxford or Cambridge graduate, a true boulevardier. He is the younger son of a family, which means he has no inheritance. So, the sea adventure seems to him the perfect opportunity to improve his social standing and obtain some wealth. Banker is a typical Victorian archetype, A capitalist with whiskers, wearing a bowler hat, man of steady reputation in his 50s, but he is determined to do something remarkable with his life. That's why he joined the expedition. Snark Budrum is unimaginable. Carol wished not to illustrate it. Okay, but what do we do then with the Snark that appears in Fit 6, the barrister's dream? It dressed in gown, bands and wig, with a glass in its eye. So it is able to read and speak. And thus it is anthropomorphic, intelligent creature. So I did not draw it with anything but more than a wig, gown and glass in his eye. Surroundings. The setting, the island, was not encouraging and inspired little hope for a successful hunt, even though Bellman was doing his best to convince the team otherwise. Yet at first sight the crew were not pleased with the view, which consisted of chasms and cracks. Brutal, unfriendly, rocky landscape. Not fascinated by crew, but intriguing and fascinating for an illustrator. There is much more material in poem that needs to be translated visually. Not only the plot itself, but also many other themes mentioned in the dialogue, the references and the overall context. That's why I was eager to draw all of it. That's why I used the same illustration method as in my Alice in Wonderland. The main illustration, the picture of a particular scene in the story done in sepia, and then framed by some kind of curtain drawn in graphite pencil, depicts all the details mentioned in conversations, references and allusions, all the words and things that must be transformed into pictures. My only regret upon finishing the book is not having included in my illustrations all the small scenes and details scattered throughout the poem. I worked on Snark not only as an illustrator, but also as a graphic designer and art director. I've planned the layout of the text and the images, and adhered to my principle that the illustration on each double page should correspond precisely to the presented text fragment. I tried keeping the style consistent from beginning to the end.